Welcome to the LANCave, where we're living as nerds. I'm Patrick. I'm solo this week, but still talking about gaming, still talking about gaming news, all kinds of nerdy stuff, because that's what you come here for. And to look at my action figures. They're not that great. You want to donate? Send me some action figures. I like Star Wars. I like Zelda. I like Marvel. I'm selective on pop vinyls. But anyways, you didn't come here for me to e-beg, because that's not what I do. Let's talk about The Last of Us. Last of Us 2 had a state of play, which I thought was not bad. Thankfully, I did... I should say, I've been trying to stay away from spoilers on here, but then I decided to spoil myself a couple weeks ago, so I did dive into the chat because I did read up on the spoilers specifically so I could understand what the controversy was about. I'm not going to talk about it here. I'm not going to weigh in on that at all, but that allowed me to then dive into the chat where people were spoiling. Most of the people, honestly, in the chat, if they weren't spoiling it, they honestly were more concerned about some of them were saying the gameplay didn't look that great. Honestly, I think it looks fine, but I think the first Last of Us was fine too. What the additional I wouldn't say modes, the additional things they talked about in here is increasing the abilities of stealth and AI, talking about environment, a little bit of customization, and one of the things I liked about it was the ability and seeing that they're going to use stealth in the game and have you essentially be able to evade and outrun your opponents. Talk about Ellie being more more agile, more dexterous. If you can outrun your opponent, if you can get away from them to the point where they can't see you and you get into stealth, then they're going to immediately try to find you, but it can confuse them, and then I'm assuming they didn't talk about it, but I'm assuming that they would assume that you're gone and you could maybe be hiding, somewhere that allows you then to get an upper hand. So it can essentially resetting aggro on your AI, which is really cool. So in games like Metal Gear Solid and others, it's really great and had a really good, really good tactics to it. So I thought that was really cool. In addition to that state of play, we had a website update on PlayStation 5. PlayStation 5 website now says PlayStation 5 is coming, launches holiday 2020. And that piggybacking on the fact, or the rumor, which many people are now kind of solidifying, is that next Wednesday, June 3rd, Sony and PlayStation will have an event about the PlayStation 5. This one focusing in on games, which is what we really want to know about. We really want to see these games. We want to see, other than Godfall, which is being shown here, we don't know of any games that are exclusive to PlayStation 5. We know about games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla and others that are going to come to multiple consoles. We know that PS4 games are going to be playable on PS5, at least for the most part. What we want to know is what other games are going to be on here. We saw the state of play we saw the Unreal 5 unveiling and showing some of the graphics, showing how amazing stuff can run on a PS5, and that's great, but I want to know, what am I going to actually get my hands on? What am I going to get to play if I buy a PS5, which I'm going to buy? What am I going to play? And that's what they really need to step up. What they've previously done is they've talked about the architecture, they've talked about the hardware, they've talked about how great ray tracing and all these other things are going to be on the PlayStation 5, which is amazing. It's immense. It's great. It may be boring, but there's a lot of weight behind what they did. And that coupled with the Unreal bit, which is going to help all developers, we're seeing now it's going to be easier for them to develop better looking games, which is great. They're basically saying, hey, we want to get out of the technology aspect, let the artists actually work on it and not have to spend as much time optimizing and as much time getting it to work the way they want it. They just want the art to be there, which is great. There's still obviously going to be a lot of fiddling with things to get them to work right, and you're going to have programmers to get things to act the way you want it. But the engine needs to adapt, needs to predict, and needs to help people on all those sides to be able to create better products faster and make them good looking. which on the other end of the spectrum, Phil Spencer was talking about trying to show off the new consoles within the pandemic and COVID-19 going on. And he's saying it's hard to convey how good next gen is with COVID-19. He's confident that gamers will appreciate the feeling of stronger and more stable frame rates in the coming months as they get to show more. But the software development's going well, and the games are being worked on. Obviously, it's a more difficult circumstances and blah, blah, blah. But he's saying it's harder to convey this generation than it was the previous generation, because you don't have it's not as much about the pop and the awe factor of seeing these new games. It's also about what he describes of how they feel, which I would say I don't disagree with that. I would even add more to that, saying that it's not only how they feel, which is obviously hard to show. You're seeing people are now they're streaming the video of this gameplay. They're streaming video of a trailer, of a presentation. And obviously, ignore the game that I'm showing here, because this game looks like a launch title for the Xbox One. As much as I'm going to play Vampire the Masquerade, don't get me wrong, I'm looking forward to the game. I'm going to get it. This does not show what next gen does. And if you want to show what next gen does, and you play something like the video I'm going to go back to showing the Unreal 5. They were showing this and talking about textures and talking about polygons and everything, and I thought it looked good. And that being said, I wasn't scrutinizing everything. I was like, this looks pretty good, and then realized I was watching it on YouTube. As Owen pointed out, he was like, that's not 4K. It wasn't. It was streaming under 1080p. It still was looking good. I could still see what they were getting at when they were talking about lighting, when they were talking about physics, when they're talking about, these bats, they're generated by this program. You don't have to individually program how the bats are going to act. They're going to react. I was like, that's cool. The model still looked great. But if you were watching it on YouTube, you weren't watching it even in 1080p. And what they're showing you is close to, if not 4K, in what they're generating on. So if you happen to be at, say, E3, if you were there in person, which, man, I hope E3 comes back, and I still want to go. But if you're at E3 in person, you're playing these games, or you're seeing it in person, you're going to see that you're not going to see that compressed by the internet. You're not going to have to worry about your bandwidth, a slight dip where you may notice a frame rate drop. Most people can notice a frame rate drop, but when it dips from 1080 to 900 something and then back, most people don't really notice that. Also, depending on how big your monitor is, you may or may not notice that. So seeing it in person on a decent display and seeing it in 4K is going to be amazing. I think that I've seen enough to understand what he meant about the load times, what he meant, and what I want to see. I don't want to see a pre-prepared, presentation where someone is pretending to go through the GUI. I want to see what their dashboard and everything looks like. I want to watch someone. I know it's corny, but old school. Here's the show someone with the controller going through the menus, showing how quickly not only your navigation is, show how maybe they have folder systems and that kind of thing. I'm assuming that they're going to in the next gen. Show me what that dashboard is going to look like. Show me what that looks like, and then show me, hey, I launched this game. Cool. I'm going to pause that game. I'm going to launch another game, and then I'm going to go back and forth between the two, because they have talked about that, I believe, in the PlayStation 5. They've talked about they want to be able to suspend multiple games, or that was I believe it was PlayStation was talking about doing that. I think it was more than one game. I don't know if it's 2 or 3, but with let's even say just a 2-person household, or even one person, to say, I want to suspend this, I want to play this other game, but I'm going to piggyback. Someone messages you and says, hey, I'm ready to play some GTA or whatever it is. You could toggle back into Grand Theft Auto and not have to wait for 7 minutes for it to load. Those load times, if you're suspending, you don't have to worry about load times anymore. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to being able to see it in action, as opposed to being queued up and presented and polished. And as you know, there's a place for that. When you see what Nintendo does with their presentations, their presentation is about that polish. This console launch, and every console launch, we need to know what it's like to experience that console. How is it going to be different than the current gen? PlayStation has only one exclusive, as I played the video before, and I'll toggle back to. PlayStation has one exclusive right now, and that's Godfall. Gearbox is making Godfall, and I don't think it's going. And I don't think it's going to be bad. I just don't know a lot about it other than what they're showing. I'm like, okay, that looks shiny. That's okay. I need gameplay. I need to see what it's like. I want to know what it's like to experience this game. PlayStation has one exclusive announced. I'm hoping that next week, when we get the PlayStation event, that we're going to get more than that. The ace up the sleeve of Xbox, I'm toggling back and forth on Xbox versus PlayStation, but I really wanted to kind of hit this home. Xbox is launching with 0 console exclusives. They're going to have backwards compatibility for your Xbox One and up to your Series X. So you can play your Xbox One games on your Series X, and that's great, but no exclusives. What they have as their ace up their sleeve is Game Pass. If you have Game Pass and an Xbox Series X, similar to if you have an Xbox One and Game Pass, you're going to have tons of games at your disposal. So they said, along with the Series X, to launch, they'll have thousands of games available due to backwards compatibility. So we're talking about Xbox 360 games. We're talking about Xbox One games, and some OG Xbox games are there. Their goal is to have every Xbox One game, along with hundreds of 360 and original Xbox games that are currently available. Sony needs to do something like this. This allows them to say, okay, you can upgrade your console, or maybe you didn't have an Xbox One. You can get the new console. With Game Pass, you get to experience all those Xbox One games. You get to play that with Game Pass, and he has talked about the backwards compatibility for all of them, but I don't think that means that all of them will be on Game Pass. But I think that there's going to be tons that are on Game Pass. Game Pass is going to allow, and the backwards compatibility is going to allow an environment that lets people continue in their ecosystem of Microsoft ecosystem, taking all their games with them. So you're not starting from scratch with your library. Your library comes with you. PlayStation needs to step it up, because this is where it's at. And I've been wavering back and forth on, do I need a new Xbox? I don't think that I do. I think that I could get Game Pass and use my Xbox One X, unless they show me something that tells me why I actually need to get one. I don't personally need to get one, but some other people out there, this is totally worth it. And if Black Friday gets a really cheap Xbox One S, if you can get a cheap Xbox One S or Xbox One X, even better, grab Game Pass and enjoy some awesome games at a very cheap price. This is the best bang for your buck for next gen. You're not going to get a lot of exclusives that PlayStation has, but that backwards compatibility makes you feel nice, warm, and fuzzy. Let me pivot a little bit. Let's stop talking about the console war. Let's talk about another war. PETA being terrible people as usual. I'm saying this as an animal lover. I'm saying this as a person who respects animal rights, and I completely appreciate that. I was a vegetarian for a long time, but they have been protesting Animal Crossing, or continuing to protest Animal Crossing, and what they're upset about is that Blathers has a museum where you are encouraged to fill up the tanks with fish. and they're basically saying, fish belong in the ocean. They don't belong in tanks. So they empty the tanks has been a big thing that PETA's been pushing for Animal Crossing. We're talking about, and just to make sure people understand what we're talking about a video game. We're talking about a video game where you fish and you catch bugs and you play with your friends, and it's the most wholesome thing. But the fact that you're fishing and then you go and put those fish in a museum, PETA doesn't like that. We're talking about fake fish. We're not even talking about like a plastic fake fish or something that's made of an animal part. We're talking about code. We're talking about an algorithm. We're talking about a randomly generated fish that is then displayed so you can look at it. If anything, PETA should say, look how great this is that you can experience this without harming a fish. I think that's even better. Don't fish, do this, whatever. I don't care. There's better ways to go about this, and there's better things to attack other than this. There are games that have animal abuse in them. I'm not even talking about hunting. I'm talking about straight up animal abuse. Go after those games. Go after how animals are actually treated in the real world. How animals are treated in regards to meat, not it was like the farms and ranches for large companies that then you buy. If you buy chicken and what have you in the grocery store, let's talk about how they're treated. If you want to get on a soapbox, I'm not going to get on that soapbox. I'm just saying, Animal Crossing's awesome. It's wholesome. It's wonderful. It warms the cockles of my heart, and PETA's just completely tone deaf in this case, because people are really, this is allowing people in the lockdown and quarantine to relax and decompress and just enjoy something wholesome in a time where they're very stressed. And I think that's what people need, and just let them enjoy themselves. Also, what people need is more Sherlock. The new Sherlock games, next Sherlock Holmes games, is coming out, and this is the same company, by the way, that did the Sunken City, which I really enjoyed. I liked the gameplay and the dialogue. And I think Sunken City, again, it's not great on graphics, but the story was good. This looks so much better. This next Sherlock Holmes game is going to have, it's a more young Sherlock Holmes, very arrogant apparently, which I think is a recent thing in Sherlock, because he's always extremely intelligent, but I feel like the Benedict Cumberbatch version of him, as much as I like it, it's changed what we view of Sherlock as being arrogant and self-centered and egotistical, which is not really what Sherlock Holmes used to be about. So anyways, this is so I'm looking for the name. It says Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1 is what it's referred to. So releases 2021 on Steam, Epic Games Store, and GOG. I'm okay with that. I'll play it on PC if I have to. Like I said, I really liked Sunken City's dialogue, and the same company is doing this, so I'm more than happy to check it out and continue to support them. And like I said, I like Sherlock Holmes. I like mysteries. That's good stuff. So I wish this was coming out on consoles as well. Maybe they'll later on say, okay, we're all also going to come up to PlayStation or Xbox. But right now, get it on PC, Steam, GOG, Epic Game Store, all that kind of stuff. By the way, I hope you enjoy my my T-shirt. I try to wear something fun on here, and let you look at something pretty. Let's talk about something else. BlizzCon. Unfortunately, BlizzCon is going to be canceled this year. They were talking about the possibilities of BlizzCon being canceled, and talking about the state of the health, making sure that health was that safety precautions and all that, to see, okay, how are we going to do this? They are hoping to put together an online replacement, but they said probably early 2021. It really disappoints me. I'm really hoping that we get to continue to see what Blizzard is working on. Diablo 4 being like I'm showing here. I'm really excited, and I really want to see more of this. And I was hoping that BlizzCon would be a time for them to actually show some real Diablo. Well, there's a lot of Diablo fans out there that want to see this game. They want to play more Diablo, real Diablo, not on their phone. So unfortunately, we may have to wait even longer for that, unless they decide to do something online and decide to launch or decide to announce something online in the meantime. Now they don't have to. They can wait, and they can give it some time before they decide to to act on it or not. On a lighter and more happy note, it sounds like we're getting a Kingdom Hearts TV series, or maybe planned for Disney Plus. Again, this is not 100% confirmed, but a pretty decent rumor. I think that putting this into Disney Plus is great. I think doing it animated, I think there's a lot of possibilities in doing that as an animated TV show. I think that allows them to not only tell a story in a little bit more of a long form format, which is honestly Kingdom Hearts could. I feel like Kingdom Hearts would fit better in a TV series than a movie. If you have a movie, people will be worried that it wasn't enough time. If you have a movie, I think people will be worried that there wasn't enough time spent in a specific world. If you have a TV series, each episode, you could go to a specific world. You could really enjoy a little bit of, the Final Fantasy stuff. You could go into, the Lion King and Tangled and all these different worlds that Kingdom Hearts allows you to jump through. And I think a TV series would be really would lend itself well for that. Also, animation wise, they don't have to, the way that they're doing animation in game, if they can use similar, Unreal Endgame engine kind of stuff, essentially your animation might not look exactly like what that cutscene they were just showing, but it'll look more like this, which is in game, right? It's in engine, which is not necessarily as great and as polished as it could be if it was, animated through the likes of Pixar. But I think what we could, or Pixar or Disney proper, but I think what we could see here is a nice blend from what we've got in Kingdom Hearts up to what they could do when doing a TV show, as opposed to having to do it rendered in-game. I don't mean that we're rendering in an end-game engine. I mean that the modeling is going to be considerably easier because of the game engine, and because a lot of the models are ready to go, and they've already had to do something like that within a game. They could do that and then upgrade them and polish them and make it look better for a TV series. Because honestly, if I saw a TV series that looked like this, I'd be fine with it. It's very, it's 3D, but it's not cheap 3D. It's better than a lot of the cheaper earlier 3D that was coming out, like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse kind of stuff. I think it's a really good idea for them. So hopefully this happens. I think it'll work. I think it's better than doing a movie, and I think Disney Plus lends itself well to this. So anyways, let me know what you think in the comments. Speaking of streaming services, HBO Max just launched, so let me know if you've checked that out. Let me know if there's anything to watch on there, if there's anything unique. And as always, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We're TheLanCave everywhere. So go check us out if you haven't already. Subscribe, do all those kinds of things. Give us the thumbs up and what have you, whatever. Share us with your friends who also like games. And I promise you that the next episode will be better than this one, because I won't be as rambly. I'll have some more even better content for you. And like I said, won't be as rambly. Till next time, I'll see you later.